Hello, how are we all doing today? Oh no. Kibben needs food really quick. Alright, I gotta get cat food because she's gonna scream at me. Hello? What do you want? Oh, yeah. I am back, sorry. How is everybody doing today? My cat also yells at dinner time. Yeah. Renaissance Festival. Ooh. Renaissance Festival does sound fun, though. I apologize for not streaming as much this last week. I don't know. I've been in a little bit of a funk lately. I'm not sure why. I mean, like, you know, outside of gestures to the rest of the world. But we have, as a result, plenty of stuff to cover. I do want to go over Matt Walsh's, like I anticipated, his reaction to the Minneapolis school shooting, which, by the way, came out recently that the trans attacker that everybody was, of course, blaming all trans people for, is not only a detransitioner, but also had planned to target a LGBTQ venue instead of the school. So, yeah, I've been following Trump Watch 2025 on Threads. Yeah, man. It's been, look, the hopium, I get it. I get why it's flowing so much. Sorry, I'm moisturizing really quick. Spooky Pepper 6900 senior nostalgia video yesterday or the day before reminding me of my hatred of Fallout 4. Here's the thing. I have an inverse. I actually have a nostalgia for Fallout. I actually like Fallout 4, which is an insane thing to say for a lot of people, which I realize. Excuse me. Alana Bella B. Hi, DD. Hope you have been doing well. I've been doing okay. Yeah. Can't complain. My cat is, I think she is finally at a stage where her stitches are starting to come out. And I think it's because she still has these, like, I don't know, I think it's bothering her back teeth because, like, I'm looking at her right now and I know she's fine, but she just does this thing that I think for her it kind of feels like choking or it's tickling something in the back of her throat. But you okay, baby? Cat. I said, you okay, baby? And my Pookie in the other room looked at me. Quinn Decker, I love Fallout 4 too. It's pathetic to say, but the game literally saved my life as a very mentally unwell 15-year-old. I don't think it's pathetic to say. I think there's people see it. It is good that people see different things in art. That's what makes art and expression so good. Such a worthwhile part of the human experience and the exchange of ideas that we have as part of culture and all this shit. I don't think it is nearly as like whatever. Like I have I don't really care for Diablo 3. I have very fond memories of Diablo 3 because I played through that game all the way through as like a trauma game when I got back from my dad's funeral. I had never played it before, and so now I have a weird like attachment to it as like a processing game. Yeah, so Queer Cranium, they've been posting pictures of Trump from 2 months ago. The Sora Blackheart. Hey Sora, hi. I want to see him gone, so me too. Oh, me too. I want him fucking I can't say too much. I am wearing my like kind of dirtbag girlfriend hoodie right now. And oof. So there have been a lot of things, and I don't like to get hopes up too much. And I kind of, I joked about it online, but I never really, the other day when it was like really popping off on Twitter where people were like, did it happen? Did it happen? Did it happen? I was like, no, it probably didn't. I think I threw out a couple jokes there. And yeah, Awesome Stella. I do think he had some kind of stroke. Like I do legitimately think that, because there's so many little things that just do not add up. Consider for the fact that for months now, we have not been able to go a couple days without seeing his ass on TV. Like, we haven't been able to do anything. And all of a sudden, the thing that I was like, that really got me like kind of Winnie the Pooh in it, just like, that is interesting. The thing that really got me was when somebody pointed out that he didn't come out and make a big, like, speech about the school shooting. Because when was the last time that a president didn't do, our hearts go out to the victims, pray for, like, just the generic fucking, we're not actually going to do anything presidency bullshit. But especially when there is a right-wing media firestorm about that shit. Like, every right-wing media talking head was jumping on it. But not Trump? Big energy for me. That was the one that I was like, okay, yeah, there's something up there. The other stuff, I have a hard time. We'll be talking about some of the evidence and stuff as we move forward. And some of the other stuff, like there's a post going around. I didn't save it to look at it because I disagree with it, where it's showing it like, oh, he has like a cranial, like a sag or something, which is from a like surgery where they relieve pressure on the brain or whatever. But that's from an AI like edited image to zoom in closer and get higher fidelity, which is not how that works, by the way. Like, it doesn't just make it higher fidelity, because you will get like aliasing and you will get artifacting, you'll get weird shit like that when the video or the original picture just clearly looks like it's just a shadow. It's just a shadow over somebody's brow ridge. I do think, yeah, soup like homogenate. People are like, well, JD Vance would be worse. And I do. Here's the thing. There's a great post. Somebody said, like, oh, yeah, JD Vance would be worse. JD Vance has 1 HP. And I think that is, spiritually, that's true. Because JD Vance does not have, he doesn't have the certain, I don't know what. He doesn't have the je ne sais quoi. He doesn't have the moxie. He doesn't have whatever indescribable quality that allows Trump to continue unabated and unbothered. JD Vance does not have it. He just doesn't. Yeah, and Gay Ghost Prince, I think Trump dying might deflate the party, almost certainly. The thing is, oh, it would be so interesting It would be so interesting. Yeah, second man in a fascist country always makes it fail. I've been listening to a anyway, Vance is Rizless. How's the American Party doing these days? Jackie says, I can't believe there's now going to be a third Blood and Honey. Hey, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 was a hidden gem. Okay? People mocked that movie without seeing it. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2? Deece. Not gonna lie. Pleasantly surprised. Blood and Honey 1? Poop from a butt. Blood and Honey 2? It's alright. Vance does not have the juice. So polydactyl black cat, that's one of the funny things I wanted to talk about is, oh, hey, Spooky Pepper 6900, thank you for 7 months. Goodness gracious. Terran Ambassador, also thank you for following. The thing is that even if Trump is, I don't think he's already dead already, right? Like, I think there's probably something happening. I do not think that he has already passed away. I don't buy the, like, all the body double stuff. They're just fucking memeing, right? All the, like, oh, they hired a crisis actor. All that's memeing. I do think there is something up. I think a stroke is a very high possibility. It is fucking weird that, again, it's a national holiday right now. We haven't heard from Trump today. There was a national tragedy. People flying shit at half-mast. National tragedy. Last week. Did not hear from Trump. The most we have actually heard from him has been tweets that a lot of people are picking apart and I haven't, look, I'm not a fucking linguist. I haven't gone through and been like, oh, well, this doesn't match up to the way he talked about this, and this doesn't match. But even if the tweets are him, they are so short and terse and to the point that it's just very clear it's not, even if it is coming from him, it is not him in the way that he usually is. The vibes are down terribly, down horrendously. Yeah. And I think so much of the appeal for the MAGA base, or okay, here's the thing I think is happening. Trump is far too prideful to ever be seen as weak in any capacity. He is too beholden to not just his own ideas, inflated, egotistical ideas of his greatness, but he is too beholden to what he thinks the MAGA base wants to see, which is the archetypical strongman. And he does not want to disappoint them any more than he already has with things like the Epstein files and all that shit. I think he will pretty much do anything to avoid talking in front of a camera, to avoid being seen right now. And I'm willing to bet that there were like crazy informational lockdowns happening in the White House, because the only things we've seen from like politicos, from DC insiders, Beltway insiders, and journalists is it's literally just whisperings. The most we've seen has been people saying like, yeah, Vance is moving. There was a headline that came out a couple days ago saying Vance is moving behind the scenes to secure leadership and all that shit. I don't think, and for that reason, I don't think he's going to step down. Like, of course he's not going to step down. He's not going to step down. But I also don't think that he is leading anything right now. Sterling Nash, hate to burst anyone's bubble. People with congestive heart failure can live for years, even a decade or more, especially if you have the best health care. Ooh, but here's the thing. You are underestimating the power of wishing. You're underestimating the power of collective vibes, which I don't usually put a lot of stock into. But in this case, I'm willing to give it a shot. T.I., do you read chat? Yes, I do. I'm reading your chat right now. Hello. the only scene Vance is moving behind is the Thiel blood bank. I do think so. Here's the thing: is I don't think Peter Thiel would love more control because Peter Thiel is a literally bloodthirsty sociopath. But I don't think Thiel is, much like Musk, I don't think Thiel is cut out for it. I think they have delusions of grandeur that far surpass their actual ability. Best case scenario is RFK gets Trump. Best case scenario is RFK gets Trump on like colloidal silver and shit. That would be my best case scenario, I think. Honored to meet you, T.I. It's called manifesting. Manifesting. Yeah, so let's start off. We're having some good combos here. Let's start off. So this is from, I believe, today. And these, look, I don't want to, a lot of these are, I'm gonna place these in the same range as like a horoscope. Like legally, or to cover myself, I am letting everybody know now, I'm not putting full stock in these. This is not a full send. This is not me saying like, oh yeah, this is for sure what's happening. And this is, we're doing this for funsies. We're doing this to have a goof, you know. Will I talk about what's going on in Indonesia? I don't know. I don't know what's happening in Indonesia. Lawmakers' perks. Days of deadly protests. All right, let's take a brief respite. God, I have a fucking... Ooh. Forgiato blow is going to... Oh, man. Oof. Why would you want Trump to pass on? Because Trump is the only figurehead people will follow behind. And without Trump, I truly do believe it becomes a... Have you ever seen Death of Stalin? I've been thinking about that because I've been reading a book recently on the purges of Stalin and the fall of the Soviet Union and stuff in the wake of Lenin and all that shit. And what happens in the Death of Stalin is you have this big figurehead who's able to hold up all this tenuous bullshit and keep all of these jackals who are at each other's throats constantly. Well, what happens when he dies? Well, it's this massive power vacuum that they also have to all clamber over each other like crabs in a bucket. I need to watch that again because it was fucking great. Anyway. Sorry. Indonesia president makes concessions after days of deadly protests. Jesus. In Jakarta, Indonesian political parties have agreed to cut lawmakers' benefits, said on Sunday, in a bid to calm anti-government protests that have killed at least 5 people in the worst violence in decades. Demonstrators called excessive pay and housing allowances for parliamentarians. It's escalating into riots. Homes of political party members and state buildings were ransacked or set ablaze, shaking investor confidence. I love how they're talking about it before the effects that these things had on like the civilian, like what are the conditions that lead to a civilian uprising versus like not having that? And the first thing they're talking about is investor confident stocks, currency markets. I'm willing to bet that's that kind of thinking probably at least a little bit of a reason why that there's shit like this happening. Somebody saying, except Stalin was somewhat competent, Trump is like a sock puppet. Stalin was vicious in a lot of the same ways that Trump is, but like you're not wrong. Stalin was more principled than Trump, but I think they both represent something similar to their bases. And that's more the comparison I was making. Leaders in parliament have conveyed they will revoke a number of policies, including the size of allowances. How big are we talking here? High profile chip to arriving at the palace use civilian number plates instead of special ones. It remains unclear who is behind the rioting and looting. Which originally probably civilians. What? Cutting was not enough. Good. Political oligarchy and unequal economic structure. Clearly repressive and intimidating. Amnesty International statement termed Prabowo's use of terms such as treason and terrorism as excessive. Wow, this sounds like somebody who fucking takes some notes from Trump. The death toll rose to 5 on Sunday. Why? 3 others were killed in an arson attack. They don't talk about the conditions. They don't talk about this is such passive voice. God. Oh yeah, and I'm not debating the horrid shit. A large part of the book I'm reading is about the assassinations that Stalin enacted, like the insane behind the scenes covert ops bullshit that was like actually kind of fascinatingly out in the open. Like it was whenever somebody died, it's very much I don't know. It's kind of like Putin, where whenever somebody died. And they were like, oh, well, wasn't this guy like a political enemy of the big dude? And they were like, yeah. Do you think he kind of, yeah. And it's like, oh, well, you know. A man was run over by a police armored vehicle that set the civilians off even more than before. Yeah, this does sound like somebody who is taking notes from Trump. Security forces take firm action against the protests. You notice how even though it does say firm action against the protests, you notice how they're not all rocking assault rifles. I guess I do not know about what police are equipped with in Indonesia. World's third largest democracy after reports that all 580 members of the House of Representatives receive a monthly housing allowance of 50 million rupiah, $3,000 in addition to their salaries. What is the average? Okay. Average monthly salary in Indonesia. So the average monthly worker is making about $400. That's the average. Not necessarily the median. And 580 members of the House of Representatives are gifting themselves that times what? 600%? Over 600%? Nearly 10 times the minimum wage in Jakarta. A video on social media apparently showing his death during a rally in Jakarta on Thursday shocked the nation and spurred an outcry against the security forces. Kurniawan was reportedly completing a food delivery order when he was caught up. Jesus. God, poor kid. Miss Genderland, thank you for tier 1. Armored car from the Mobile Brigade unit of the National Police suddenly sped through. Fucking. Three people died, 5 others were hospitalized. Separate riot, a man who was thought to be a police intelligence agency beaten to death by Jesus. Death toll rose to 7 after authorities in Yogyakarta said a university student was killed in Friday's clash between demonstrators and riot police. 6-year-old pedicab driver suffering from acute asthma was found unconscious after being exposed to tear gas and died. God, that's something that's fucking happened over here. 469 people were injured and 97 were hospitalized. That Reuters report did a shit job of summing this up. Cause chaos, disrupt people's lives, and sabotage national development. I hate that shit. Escalating violence prompting TikTok to voluntarily suspend its live feature. Citing TikTok to... Okay, so TikTok is now engaging in censorship. Like, that's what that is. Escalating violence to suspend its live feature. It is... bullshit doublespeak. Issued a travel warning. Contentious housing allowance, suspend overseas trips. Police were investigating 7 officers linked to the incident, which had instructed a quick and transparent investigation in a way the public can monitor. It also ensures administration to financially support Colonel Wan's family. That is, okay, that's something you're never going to fucking see. Oh my God. Could you imagine if a Uber Eats driver was killed in the middle of like a protest here? Trump would call them Antifa. Trump would say, well, you know, they fucking probably deserved out of here. They weren't good people. Like, before the end of the night, a random Uber driver would have, like, their parking tickets discovered by somebody from Fox News being like, well, they were no angel. Culmination of public economic growth to 8% within 5 years to make Southeast Asia's largest economy attractive for investments. Observers have dismissed his pledge as being too ambitious, with the Trump administration's 19% tariffs on Indonesian goods adding to the uncertainty. So you mean to tell us that our dumbass actions here have effects elsewhere in the world? That our decision to be like, you know, actually, yeah, we're going to just tariff everything from everybody, is in some way leading to, like obviously not wholly responsible for, but at least partially responsible for uprisings around the world? Awesome. Sick. God. Yenza, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Yeah, the World Bank estimates Indonesia's economy will grow at 4.8 up to 2027, far below. All right, well, there is something to keep an eye on. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the way that they focus on, like, the investors and shit really does kind of bake my noodle. I'm not going to be lie. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. So, yeah. This is the picture that came out that everybody's been talking about. I'm going to say, okay, 2 things. One, the first thing that really stood out to me, like, it's not a super clear picture, right? There's only so much you can do with something of this fidelity. I don't think it's a body double. I think he just looks like shit. It doesn't look that much different. He just looks tired. I think people forget when you're already old and flabby how much a difference in posture, in energy, like you know, even as you get older, even in your 20s and 30s, there is such a difference in the way, like, oh, if you're fucking tired, if you're doing this, like, it gets a lot harder to like maintain constantly being at high levels of energy. I think he's just fucking tired. The thing that for me got me going about this picture, where's his hair? Because every time you can look over here, and I know the let's move the box a little bit. Every time, Strudel, thank you for subscribing, Trump has ever worn his shitty hat, $50 for that shitty hat, you can see a little bit of his hair. And this, like, you can see even a tuft out of the side. You can see a tuft out of the back. Tuft, tuft, tuft. Or even, at the very least, like, and this was really long. And this was relatively short. But there's something there, right? Like, there's something. Like, right there? Come on. And it's not just that, like, oh, there's not very much hair. Look at the sides. The man has been shaved like a baby seal. It's very weird. The brandification is complete. Like, granted, again, I want to preface all of this by saying that, hey, maybe it's just a bad angle, maybe it's just too far away, maybe it's just a bad clip, like, whatever. To me looking at it, I'm like, that's a man with no hair. Like, he's got no hair under there. That's what I see. Coming out with a fade. Oh, God, that would be so fucking funny. That would be so fucking funny. Goes golfing at his club. Reporters are confined to the tennis court area, not allowed to speak to Trump, not allowed to see him golfing, which they normally can. So here's another post that I don't, again, I think there are a lot of libs who are very eager to, like, go blue and on this shit, and I really try and, like, take 4 or 5 steps back, right? Take 4 or 5 steps back. That being said, some of this stuff, it's fun to speculate. You know, it's fun to think about a little bit. His team posts with pictures. Close friend, radio show host John Fredericks, after days of outdated pictures, finally gets something that seems current, but something is off. And yeah, so there's, if you zoom in on these people, they are the most concerned bystanders I've ever seen. And boy, he sure does have that smile nice and big. You know, God, it doesn't look real. I'm sorry. Other than weird staging, we know Trump's eyes are barely open, especially his right eye. This would be consistent with someone recovering from a minor stroke or larger TIA who's recovering physically but not fully well yet. Overly toothy in uniform. His face doesn't push back that much when he does it. Here is a sample of a Trump smile image run through Face app on high settings. What do you notice? I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that. All right, when we make the change, the app squishes the face to expand the smile. Crow's feet intensify, lips furl in. I don't know, man. I think some of it's too good to be true. Too good to be true. Mackenzie, I'll thank you for $5. My family and so many others will not be able to accept it when it eventually happens. These people see him as their god, not sure how they'll react. So here's the thing. Here's the thing I thought is because apparently he was posting like QAnon memes the other day. Like apparently he was doing his QAnon shit and being like, oh, you gotta trust the plan, and nobody. I think he posted an AI meme that was him like holding the world in his hand. Being like, nobody will stop what is coming. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if I had a massive cult of personality who thought that I was literally like an emissary from God battling the devil, and I was about to die in office, I would also be posting trust the plan memes, because that's just good fun. That's fucking hilarious to me. Like deciding trust the plan, dies, but then also doing it on purpose as a bit. I'm sorry. That's a great bit. That's a fucking really good bit. Boost the contrast, you'll note. Oh, interesting. Unlike an AI that fully generates images, a face editor like FaceApp is hard to programmatically detect. There are no hidden watermarks or super obvious tells. The best method is changing the contrast in Photoshop to look for odd noise. When we boost the contrast, you'll notice some. Hard to see with Twitter's compression, but the outline around Trump's face has pixelated noise, and so do his teeth. Suggesting, though not proving, a touch-up. Could be lighting inconsistencies. There's nothing wrong with the president. Why is he not taking questions from the press? Why are they not allowed to see him golfing? Why are we only getting controlled media releases? Why are all press images inconsistent with what his team puts out? We're on 7 days since he was last freely in front of the press. We expect a TIA or minor stroke victim to be able to walk and pose for a photo now, but perhaps still have other small tells, but be nearing the point where they could pretend nothing happened. Hey, liberal dies. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Hello, Doug. I know, I hear you. Then we have another one. All right, we have one more thing before we move on. Ooh, I do want to talk about Taylor Lorenz, friend of the show. Taylor Lorenz's great investigation showing all the fucking astroturfed. Why are you doing this to me? All right, give me 1 second, chat. Sorry, chat. Lady needed food. Thank you, Meredith Naven, for $5. Bad joke for you. I've trained my dog to bring me a glass of wine, red wine on command. It's a Bordeaux Collie. Very good. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty cute. Here's more talking about that. He's hiding his left arm. See the photo on the right, supposedly from Friday or Saturday. Something is going on with his left arm. He is also hiding that here, hiding that here. If I'm remembering correctly, the left arm, like seizing, is a sign of a stroke. If I'm remembering correctly. Destiny is really mad at Taylor over this. Yeah, I fucking bet. Eyes in a weird state of swollen shut and sinking into his skull at the same time. I don't know, I think that's one where he's just old. That is interesting, I guess. Yeah, these guys give me pause as well. Like it's not. The things that get my noodle going are not the things that are like, oh, if you look at this, it might be face up. Like, whatever. It's stuff like this that I'm like, these people are so fucking concerned. Yeah, and the bald guy is absolutely wearing. This guy's probably wearing a vest too because they look like they're wearing the same shirt. Like just nondescript clothes. I think it looks like one of them might have a lapel mic. Oh, the carpet almost the same at Mar-a-Lago. That looks like the same carpet. His known symptoms and risk factors are classic indicators of rehabilitation therapy were required for speech and cognition. Recent confusion and loss of vocabulary are alarming. We all saw this coming. How do you still have Biden's done as your "in God we trust" because woke people suck? You know what? Asked and answered. Well, so the mirror that's just a perspective thing. Like I don't. People are like, "Ooh, they're missing somebody in the mirror." I don't think so. Like that's just catching this part up. This person's just out of frame. Would be lower in the mirror, but it's that's a perspective thing to me. It does, like, I'll give you that. It does look weird, but that's I don't think that's anything to really about. Oh, thank you, Ti. Yeah, this is a recurring problem with the massive health episodes. Maybe we should stop electing the elderly. See, here's the thing. You'd think. It's so, I don't know. It's one of those, like, you know, like all these conservatives being like, well, y'all tried to cover up for Biden and y'all didn't. And I'm like, nope. Like, sorry to break it to you. Nah. All right, let's go to RFK. I want to see if I can find that full press conference and we can watch that bullshit. We need an age cap. Well, we've needed an age cap on running for office. Unfortunately, all the rich old fucks who run everything don't like that. Superman, thank you for $5. Happy Labor Day. And just so you know, Luigi Mangione, trial date in New York is September 16th. Damn, that's quick. Man. So I've had to I have to walk back some of the stuff I said around Destiny. Not okay. No, I'm not walking back anything I've said about Destiny, and I have more to say about Destiny. Fuck that guy. I do, however, want to walk back any of the if my praise of Bad Empanada's work sounded effusive, because kind of fuck that guy. He's been going on a really transphobic tirade, and I think he is really showing his true colors in his most recent series of crash outs. Yeah, Sex Pestiny, I'm not fucking, I have nothing to oh yeah, I did see the I did see that. I do want to talk about that real quick before we get off the Trump train entirely. But let me this is the one. No, I mean bad empanada, Nathan Ash. Bad empanada is. I don't even want to really go into it because I also don't want to be targeted by his bizarre bullshit. Oh yeah, his relationship with trans people is entirely transactional, and the way that he continues to go after specifically trans people and disrespect their identity, shit doesn't sit right with me. Doesn't sit right with me. Like, I don't think any of the shit that he advocates for, it comes from a place of malice and spite, not any actual convictions, not any actual principles. And he has time and time again revealed that by just attacking anybody and everybody. And you know what? That's not the way you make a good fucking leftist movement. Sorry. He doesn't believe in anybody else's vision of a leftist future or leftist principles outside of his own increasingly and incredibly narrow one. And that's not something I want to be associated with. Yeah, so this one I haven't seen many people actually like report on in the mainstream, and it could be fucking nothing. But a viral video showing a mysterious dark bag thrown from White House window has sparked public alarm and speculation. The incident near a restricted area comes amid rumors of Trump's health. And yeah, this is a fucking weird video.
You got another one? Can you make out what they're throwing away?
Like, oh, mixed peacekeeper. They're doing renovations in the Lincoln bedroom. That's where the window is. That could be it. They see, that's I do feel like this one might be an Occam's razor type thing. Oh, was that loud? I'm sorry. I did not have my headphones on for that. Social media users floated theories, routine trash disposal gone rogue to far more ominous possibilities, potential cover up. Like here's the thing. I don't think it's a, yeah, like Johnny Viral. It's just fucking weird. Because like you're talking about the White House, right? The bag had the Epstein files. Thank you for $5, Jonathan Black. Oh, it's just like, okay, if you are a contractor brought in to work in the fucking White House, I would expect somebody to be more professional than tossing garbage out a window. So even if that is the case. But then, like, if you are trying to dispose of something, if it is part of something, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's, they are trying to dispose of something, you're going to do it out of a window in broad daylight? A window that's visible from the street? Like, that also doesn't track for me. Like, it's just fucking weird. It's just fucking weird to me. I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think that there's anything fishy about it. I think it's probably just something weird that happened, and it's exceedingly weird the more you think about it. Yeah, no, Tortilla and Niv. CIA after planning 9/11. Time to plant the clues. Only one thing left. The clues. There we go. So, how do I start this off? Oh yeah, if Trump better be out by 9/11. Like there's no fucking way he doesn't. Okay. So, I have been meaning to talk about RFK for months now. We've talked about RFK before, but I feel he has kind of slipped into being a background character, when the terrible reality about him is that he might be one of the most dangerous people in America right now for the power that he currently wields over our health and healthcare apparatus. And it's not just because he is, in favor of Trump's dismantling of those things to continue making rich people richer, poor people poorer, harder to get good healthcare, harder to maintain education on healthcare and why things are important, like the CDC. It's because, in addition to all of those things and stepping in line with Trump's agenda, he is a deeply, ridiculously, incomparably dumb shit idiot ass sock. And I cannot underline that enough for people. But to simply continue that point, I want to play this clip for you, and we're gonna go into it a little bit more.
My opinion, I always tell people, is irrelevant. People, we need to stop trusting the experts, right? We were told at the beginning of COVID, don't look at any data yourself, don't do any investigation yourself, just trust the experts. And trusting the experts is not a feature of science. It's not a feature of democracy. It's a feature of religion, and it's a feature of totalitarianism. In democracies, we have the obligation, and it's one of the burdens of citizenship, to do our own research and make our own determinations about things.
Just based on, is this clip recent? Yes, it's 3 days old. Just based on this, if you were to hear, I want you to consider for a moment, removed from who he is, if a man came up to you on the street looking like this, talking like this, sounding like this, expressing these same sentiments, is your first thought, yeah, he probably knows what he's talking about? You're right, buddy. I shouldn't trust the experts, because you probably know a little bit better. Oh boy. Ma, thank you for $5. I need to ditch the bags fast and couldn't make it to the White House puppy furnace. Oh man. This man is going to cause another pandemic if we haven't already. So I want to go into some of the things that he believes that we're going to talk about here. This was a great thread. I forget where she's from. Host of Crooked Media's What a Day, New York Times, CNN. Jane Coaston. So a lib. The RFK Jr. dance describes you excuse me, let's take that from the top. The RFK Jr. dance requires you to believe that everything he has ever said or done doesn't count because he wants us to all be healthy. Because if you really just want us to be healthy, then how could you ever do anything bad? And my response to this is twofold, because I also want Americans to be healthy. Number one, the shit he's doing is simultaneously meaningless and harmful to public health. Like, no, ice cream without artificial coloring is still not good for you. Fries fried in tallow is still not good for you. And really, I think that's an astute observation because it gets at this very American idea of what healthy food is. This is something I didn't really have time or bandwidth to cover in the nostalgia video, but marketing does play a large role in what we perceive as being healthy and how we go about our lives trying to get healthier. Do you ever notice, and I'm sure many people do and many people have, that you can try eating better, that when you do try and eat better, you still don't seem to necessarily lose weight? You still just don't seem to maybe feel that different? It's because when you are going after foods, if you want, unless you are setting out an actual meal plan, unless you are exercising regularly, eating regularly, good home-cooked meals that are actually fresh ingredients, the shit that you're eating is still going to be the same shit, just with a different packaging, just with maybe a little bit more protein, maybe with a little bit more vitamins, maybe with a little bit less food coloring. And so it is this kind of like, oh yeah, no, if you're eating fries dipped in beef tallow at Steak and Shake, yeah, that's eating good, that's eating healthy, that's eating them. Like, it's like, no, it's not. It is, you are still eating burger. It's still red meat. It's still going to clog up your arteries. It's still deep fried in grease. Like that grease might be slightly less corrosive, but it's still going to coagulate in your arteries with all the other fucking grease. I don't know. It's this bizarre American outlook on dieting and like healthy food that it drives me insane that people put so much stock into it. Jonathan Black, thank you for $5. I trust RFK for recommendations on heroin, and that's it. He probably knows the good shit too. He probably knows the good shit. Espiritu Corpse, thank you for 15 months. Time to Kale Max. Yeah, there we go. Kale Max. Now you're talking my language. My MLYP, I want my treats to be healthy. My treats are healthy. My treats are pretty much like, if I go to my fridge right now, the food here's the food I have off the top of my head. And granted, I do unfortunately eat out more than I should, or my partner and I have been eating out more than we should. But my treats are, I have carrots and hummus. I have blueberries. That's it. Blueberries got me. Blueberries, that's all I need. You sent me with some bloobs. I'm good. And my dog also loves blueberries. Here we go. RFK Jr. has embraced an ethos, and if you do all the right things, you won't get sick. And if you do, that's on you. He calls it miasma theory, and he rejects germ theory, as in germs cause diseases. So, this is not a unique observation to me, but it needs to be reiterated that this is a man who literally has the brain of a medieval peasant. Whether that's because the worms in his brain have eaten the modern part of his brain and reduced him to a near ape-like sentience, or whether that's just because he's that fucking stupid, the world may never know. But the point remains that germ theory is a real thing. That the idea of like, oh, if you just eat beef tallow, you won't get sick, and if you do get sick, it's your fault, is not. Yet, this is the person we have performatively, always, all right, chat, if I can take a divergent for 1 second. Why is he always wearing jeans? in every... Look, that's the second thing. RFK Jim jeans. Ma, thank you for $5. Psst, RFK, germs make things stinky. Fuck you. God, I hate this AI shit. Went viral to wearing jeans at the gym. I just started doing that a long time ago because I would go hiking in the morning and then I'd go straight to the gym. And I found it was convenient, and now I'm used to it, so I just do it. Yeah, 2023 shared a clip of himself donning jeans and no shirt as he worked to complete a set of push-ups. Jeans to the gym is so wild to me. Like, that is the idea of willfully getting sweaty in denim. And I know that that's some like old man Levi shit. Like, there's no fucking stretch to these. These are starched to the gills. The idea of like walking, so I do a 3-mile hike. I've done it for the last like 4 or 5 days, but I generally like will try and do my 3-mile hike run, especially in the summertime because I can't really do it in the winter, just to get in shape for my cosplays and all that shit. The idea of hiking in 90-degree weather in denim is hellish to me. I cannot. I don't get a lot of like sensory ick, but this is terrible for me. This is awful. We gotta keep going with the other shit. Yeah, people who work in jeans wear them for protection, not comfort. RFK doesn't need to be wearing jeans when he's flipping over rocks to find a snack in the mud. Kennedy contrasts his erroneous take on miasma theory with germ theory, which he derides as a tool of the pharmaceutical industry and pushy scientists to justify selling modern medicines. The abandonment of miasma theory, Kennedy bemoans, realigned healthcare and medical institutions to, quote, the pharmaceutical paradigm that emphasized targeting particular germs with specific drugs rather than fortifying the immune system through healthy living, clean water, and good nutrition. Because that's all you need to do. Meanwhile, he's not really doing much to help Trump not like tear down forests and reduce national lands and fucking industrialize like rivers and streams and cut back a insane amount of environmental regulations to stop pollutants. So again, kind of just full of shit. Not too surprising. Meredith Naven, thank you for $5. There were 2 muffins in the oven. One says, gee, it's hot in here. The other says, oh my God, a talking muffin. Very good. Very good. Very good. According to Kennedy, germ theory gained popularity not because of the undisputed evidence supporting it, but by mimicking the traditional explanation for disease. Okay, I just needed to I'm gonna take that again from the top so everybody can hear it. According to Kennedy, germ theory gained popularity not because of the undisputed evidence supporting it, but by, quote, mimicking the traditional explanation for disease, demon possession, giving it a leg up over miasma, end quote. To this day, Kennedy writes, quote, $1 trillion in pharmaceutical industry pushing patented pills, powders, pricks, potions, and poisons, and the powerful professions of virology and vaccinology led by little Napoleon himself, Anthony Fauci, fortify the century-old predominance of germ theory. Oh, man. So we have two main problems. RFK Jr. believes that we don't need to fight germs or viruses. We just need healthy living and clean water and good nutrition. This is both untrue and not what the Trump admin is doing. Yeah, shocking. I just brought that up. We need to talk about his autism stuff, and then we need to talk about trans kids. So, this is from May 28th of this year. And again, this is somebody who is now, it's not just as much as he would like to act like it's just about, give me actually 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. The problem is, and I want to bring this back to trans kids because we're going to talk about trans kids and autism. The problem with this narrative that you hear so often from anti-vaxxers of, well, experts don't know everything. Aside from the fact that, you know, it is generally true that if somebody is a doctor, if somebody dedicates their life to public health, to trying to help people in the public good, it's generally accepted that they're going to try and do their best with the evidence that they've been given, with the evidence they have available. And that's why things that, again, HHS, again, Doge, Trump has cut back massively on and a ridiculous amount of studies across virology, across the HHS, across the CDC, all of this stuff. So the idea that like, oh, well, we're trying to do actual science and stuff is total bullshit. It is to suit an ideological agenda. And that's what, when you hear an anti-vaxxer talk about how they do their own research, That's what it comes back to. It comes back to giving themselves a way out that they can act like they know better than the people who are actually educated, who are actually running studies, who are actually trying to help people, who are actually doing real science and research. And you might ask yourself, but why? Why? Outside of somebody feeling like they are just such a little special snowflake that they don't want to do whatever they're told, which is a very American frame of mind. And the answer is to push forward their ideological agenda. Because if you can say shit like this, and shit like autism causing vaccines, you can advance the ideology under the guise of saying it's science, because at that point you get to redefine what science is, what it actually constitutes, the conclusions we should draw from it. The problem with that is that science is based on evidence. It's based on the things that you can test. It's based on hypotheses, postulations. This has none of that shit. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said Wednesday that Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sent a letter urging healthcare providers and medical boards to update treatment protocols for youth with gender dysphoria based on a controversial HHS review of scientific literature that was released earlier this month. The report says it is, quote, not a clinical practice guideline, but Kennedy's letter warns providers against relying on science-based professional guidelines and urges them to use the government document to inform their practice instead. The letter also said that HHS is committed to protecting whistleblowers and may soon create new policies and oversight actions to hold providers that harm children accountable. Research shows that gender-affirming surgery is rarely performed on trans or gender-diverse children or teens in the U.S., and professional medical organizations do not recommend surgery for children as part of gender-affirming care. That is a fact. However, taking away those facts and acting like it's not a fact helps them advance their ideological agenda. This is from hhs.gov. Comprehensive review that found puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries have very weak evidence of benefit but carry risk of significant harms, including sterilization. Providers should no longer rely on discredited guidelines that promote these dangerous interventions for children and adolescents based on ideology, not evidence. This is just a straight-up lie. The review. We talked about this a while ago, where the review includes a methodologically rigorous assessment of evidence underpinning the use of surgical or endocrine interventions, including puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, within so-called gender-affirming model of care, while also drawing on international practice evaluations such as the UK's CAS review. It's funny that they actually mentioned it here, because the CAS review, as soon as it came out, was widely discredited for being an ideologically driven piece of drivel that had so many bad sources and so many shitty samples that, like, if you actually look at it, it just falls apart. It disintegrates in front of your face. Yeah, Cass herself, Transitory, started to distance herself from it the moment it released. So that's, I don't want to spend all the time on trans kids. We got to spread the love around. Oh, okay. Well, hang on. I gotta go back here for a second, because we still haven't. I need to. Oh, whatever. RFK Jr. says aggregation of causes likely leads to autism. Yeah, okay, here we go. RFK Jr. says agency will reveal causes of autism in September. I like how he's fucking teasing it. Oh, it was August 26th that he said that. Great. I like how he's teasing it like it's the next Marvel movie. It's like, oh, you're not going to believe what causes autism and who shows up in Avengers Doomsday.
We go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show. What's happening in our country, and
now I want to for a second there, because that's already a lot. I'm going to be for real. That's already so much. There is nothing wrong with someone being autistic. There's nothing wrong with someone being neurodivergent. The only fear that stems from it is from people who do not understand it and do not take time to understand it. And every argument like this, calling it a horror show, calling it, whatever else they're going to say, like, oh, these poor kids, acting like they're born without a limb, acting like they're born unable to help or think for themselves, is so offensive and based in obvious eugenics ideas. I cannot express to you how these ideas need to be hammered from society forever. Forever. And I want to say that up front before we keep going. Hella lame. It's like they think autism is the same as Down syndrome. It doesn't matter if it is. People with Down syndrome can still live completely normal, competent lives. They can still think for themselves. Like, people with Down syndrome are not... I've known plenty of people with Down syndrome who are not helpless, completely like the helpless child-like adults people are often conflated as in the media. Yeah, there's someone with Down syndrome that has a law degree and is a practicing lawyer. Not fucking surprising. Nehemiah, I personally love being autistic, but I'm sad for the kids who grew up with parents who would rather have a dead child than an autistic one. Thank you for $5. El Salve, neurodiversity and LGBT are actually very much linked, which is why I must join together as one. Yeah, like there is a lot of people, and it's a common turf talking point to be like, well, they're going after these, poor, vulnerable, autistic girls. And it's like, no, actually neurodivergent people are just more likely to be queer of one shade or another. Like, doesn't matter if they're trans, doesn't matter if they're lesbian, doesn't matter like what that takes on. They are just more likely to express themselves in different ways. Period. Like that's just something that happens with all kinds of neurodivergent people. It's a correlation, not a causation, but it is something that, like, it happens. Happens a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, nobody's getting hurt by that. Anyway.
Some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised.
I'm sorry. I can't take a guy seriously when the president turns to him at a cabinet meeting and he's the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He is in charge of the health of the country. And President Trump goes, and how are we doing with that? And he rolls in, well, we will have something to say about that. And we're actually doing really good. I fucking clown shoes ass country.
In September, we're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be able to address those in September.
It's such a big day. I'm looking forward to that day because...
No, Chuck Grape, I think that's also true. I think more likely to understand LGBTQ stuff. I know a 12-year-old who understands trans people more than most adults, and they are very much autistic. They can also play a mean sax. I think that goes both ways. Where I think, yeah, there is a certain segment of people who are able to better I think that's also just being young. I think it is easier to empathize when you're younger, if you haven't been inculcated to hate queer people and that kind of shit.
There's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago. And those numbers.
There's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers they have today versus 20 years ago. The reason why is because of these scientists, these experts that these people love to be like, well, they don't actually know anything, is because it's an iterative process. The idea of that's why definitions expand over time. That's why definitions change. That's why we come up with new words to encapsulate things. Language, like science, is meant to be fluid. It is not something that is static. It is not inscribed in stone. That's why it pisses me off when people like Matt Walsh are like, well, this is the definition of what this is supposed to be. It's like, no, that was the definition at one point, but we can expand and change those words. That's what they're there for. All this shit is made up to help each other. All of us understand each other, the world we live in, the conditions we're forced through a little bit better. It has to expand and contract over time. This is should be, in a healthy, functioning society, a normal part of everything. Meredith Navin, thank you for $5. I know a guy with Downs who stole his brother's car keys one Christmas and gave them back to him the following year as his Christmas. You know what? That's a pretty good bit. I'm sorry, that's a good bit. That's a good bit. Oh, that's kind of funny.
What are those numbers about?
In 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in Wisconsin. They looked at 900,000 children, and they were looking for autism. They knew what it looked like, and they were very, very precise about it, and they found an incident rate of 0.7, in other words, less than 1 per every 10,000 children. Today, our most recent numbers are 1 in every 31 kids. It's probably actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, is reporting 1 out of every 19 children, American children, has autism, 1 in every 12.5 boys. So it's gone from less than 1 in 10,000 in 1970 to 1 in 12.5 boys.
Think of those numbers. So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something. And I know you're looking very strongly at different things, and I hope you can come out with that as soon as possible.
We will.
So 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 or 34 or 12 if it's a boy. Can you imagine that? 1 in 12. That's for a boy.
1 in every 12.5 boys.
It's not even believable.
You're absolutely right. It's not even believable. Yeah, not only is it better testing, but I can almost guarantee that when Trump thinks of an autistic person, in his head, he's imagining like Rain Man. He's imagining some incredibly outdated stereotype of a person who cannot care for themselves. Like that kind of bullshit you used to hear in shitty horror movies, like it's an adult trapped in a man's body, or it's a child trapped in a man's body, that kind of stuff. Like it's yeah, they're all thinking institutional. Nehemiah, apparently there's evidence linking autism with Neanderthal DNA. There is, and I believe it is pseudoscience. From what I remember, this could be anecdotal. I believe it is pseudoscientific, but there are theories that people have postulated that autism or neurodivergency are akin to some sort of evolutionary vector, that it is it is the equivalent of a modern evolution due to things like media and information, passing all that shit down, and like radio waves and all sorts of crazy shit. There are a lot of different theories, I guess. I don't take any of that really seriously as written. It's like the X-Men. That's partially why I don't take it seriously as written, because it's like, eh. Yeah, exactly. Hero, we understand so little about the brain or even just the body in general. You should always take any autism theories with quite a grain of salt. Yeah. So, as harmful as those are, give me a second. I need to go check on my phone really quick, actually. Okay. As harmful as all that shit is, I wanted to watch some of this. Probably not all of it. I don't know. I don't know if I got it in me for all of it, if I'm being so for real. Psychosomatic. But no, psychosomatic would be you think it up. Like, psychosomatic is something that you believe is happening to you, but isn't actually. Who here is queer and neurodivergent? Watch 300 people raise their hands at once. Microphone real quick. She's already purring. She's already purring. Can you hear Kevin? Do you wanna talk to the mic? Hello, baby. I do want to send a massive thank you to she's been so snuggly lately. I do want to send a massive thank you to whoever sent, and you didn't make the message on Ko-Fi public, so I'm assuming you wanted to keep it anonymous. But you know who you are, who sent a absolutely massive donation to me. Well, yeah, massive is a good way to describe it. It is, I believe, the biggest donation I've ever gotten. Because that will absolutely help. It will help a lot. I will be able to get a new chair. I will be able to get help, hopefully finish paying off Mrs. Bill. And on that note, I do want to thank everybody who donated to help with the cat, because she is doing so much better, and it was such a massive weight off, and otherwise fairly stressful time. So thank you all.
Hissy.
No mic? What do you mean no mic? How am I shouldn't be muted. Okay, I'm not muted. Video audio is barely hearable. It's because there's nothing happening. Like, Jesus Christ, 36 minutes in, over halfway through the video.
Time for you to go to a tournament, and this young guy says, "Well, I only know one throw." He goes, "No, we're going to a tournament." So they go to this tournament. This fellow steps up on the mat. He's got his belt, his sleeve tucked into his belt. He wins the first match. He's shocked. It happens again and again and again. He's finally in the final, the grand championship. He gets out to this guy and he beats this guy. He goes back to his instructor and said, "How in the world did that happen?" And the instructor said, "Well, there's 3 reasons. Number one, when you step up on that mat and you've got a sleeve tucked in your belt, as George W. Bush would say, they all misunderestimate you. Beyond that, your body has to work together to make sure this throw is executed properly. And the third thing is you've got to see
my man sitting back there looking like Return of the Living Dead. I don't know why they're
190 counties are
opening with the stand-up
categorized
special.
as rural in this state. In those more than 190 counties, we have more than 6 million Texans who have healthcare needs just like everybody else in the entire state of Texas. We have an obligation to ensure that those communities are going to be able to.
Obligation. Let me see. Oh. Trans adults in Texas struggle after restrictions on teens. As limits on trans teens increase, doctors have left the state, weakening an already threadbare system for trans adults. Prevents trans people from under 18 from accessing hormone therapies, puberty blockers, and transition surgeries. So, already a bullshit.
Succeed, and an essential component of those communities being able to succeed is having access to health care. We had the opportunity before coming in here to talk about some of their needs, and actually talked about some of the ways that we have addressed. This past session, Texas provided more than $300 million to address the needs of health care in rural Texas. Over the past 2 sessions, we provided almost $500 million to address mental health care needs in rural Texas. Both of those are pressing, and they require unique strategies to address those needs in the rural setting that's different than what you may find in Harris County or Dallas County. Very importantly, because of what President Trump and his administration did in the One Big Beautiful Bill, it provides $50 billion rural health care. Texas is going to get $100 million a year for 5 years, $500 million as let's say a guaranteed tranche, and then Texas will compete for parts of the remaining $25 billion. This
erudite description of how rural areas, particularly in Texas, provide the food, the fiber, the energy that we use throughout our country. President Trump also understands that there's a cultural importance to us preserving the rural areas of the country. This is the source of our values, our virtues, our character as a people who came from the small towns, from the rural areas. President Thomas Jefferson said that American democracy is rooted in the tens of thousands of independent freeholders who own the land, and without them, who have a stake in our economy, a stake in our
because the world hasn't changed at all since Thomas Jefferson was president.
And if we lose rural America, which we're in danger of losing right now, we'll lose part of our capacity to preserve and understand and appreciate the American soul and the American experience.
It's funny you bring that up. Fight and Hobbit saying, DD, fun fact, the cuts just hit the local rural area hospital near me. It's shuttering by the end of the year. I actually see. Oh, hey, look at that. 14 Washington rural hospitals face risk of closure. Federal Medicaid cuts imperil rural hospitals and residents. Rural communities prepare for Medicaid cuts to hit hospitals. Advocacy groups estimate that 700 rural hospitals, as 1 in 3, as well as many rural clinics, are at risk of closing. July 16th. So they had to... So they cut a shit ton with the Doge cuts, with all that other bullshit. And now, a closer list is August 4th. Closer look at the $50 billion Rural Health Fund in the new reconciliation law. Reduce federal Medicaid spending by $911 billion over 10 years, leading to 10 million more people becoming uninsured by 2034, based on CBO estimates. Particularly given the ongoing trend of rural hospital closures. In response, and just prior to the passage, the Senate added $50 billion in funding for a new rural health transformation program. They're giving you fuck you dollars. They're giving you fuck you dollars. Explains what the law says about the allocation of funds and highlights outstanding questions. Blah, blah, blah. What share will go to the nearly 1,800 hospitals in rural areas or be used for other providers or purposes? Whether funds will be targeted to certain types of rural hospitals, such as the 44% with negative margins, which means that they are non-profitable. That is almost half of rural hospitals in America that perform necessary and life-saving routines to small towns, to out-of-the-way places and hamlets, and just like that nobody else can reach. Almost half of them in the country are not profitable. But yeah, let's hear more about. Hello, Kevin. What are you taking over to? What are you doing? Tsk. Hello. Theo Turgoose, how much is an ambulance in the U.S.? Let me put it to you this way. A couple months ago, I had to take my partner to the emergency room. And we had to have somebody come over, wrap her hands up. And I was like, okay, do we take an ambulance or an Uber? And they were like, well, you're not dying. And you're not going to die in 5 minutes, so Uber. Which is fucking insane to me. Yeah. Government services should not make profit. That's why we pay taxes. You'd think, but we can still, it turns out we can still spend a ton of money on not infrastructure. They can spend all this money sending bombs to Israel to murder children who don't have legs. But can we get just a crumb of not even like this isn't even the socialism, free healthcare for everybody nightmare that these dipshits love to fearmonger about. This is just the ability for tax-paying United States citizens, the people who, by the way, run on farms and work farms and they're so important, and RFK Jr. is talking all this shit, for them to be able to get healthcare when they need it.
Rural America is in crisis, and the rural hospitals are absolutely critical for them surviving these crises. These institutions are not just medical providers. They're, in most cases, they're the single largest employer in those areas. They have the highest paying jobs. And when they lose them, as we talked about before, it's not just the hospital that closes, it's the pharmacy that closes, it's the stores that close, and the community collapses. So we have to, and President
Trump knows about this. RFK Jr. is going to become such a wonderful study in the future, and the damage that can be done when somebody is not qualified for a job. When somebody does not know how to properly perform his role, how to properly advocate for the things that his office is meant to represent. Because out of one side of his mouth, he is saying things that you listen to and you're like, yeah, okay. Like some of the stuff, maybe a little bit, And then, on the other half of things, he is a uninformed idiot who prizes his lack of information as virtue. Because, like so many anti-vaxxers, QAnon moms, like the just dullards who, proliferate Wayfair conspiracies and all this shit, he believes that it is a virtue to be ignorant. That if you tell somebody with evidence something, that hey, if you look outside, you can see the sky is blue. And they will say, well, don't trust the experts, buddy. Because the experts, they didn't know everything about COVID. It's like, yeah, that's crazy. Who could have imagined that some people might not know everything about COVID? The fucking shocker of all shocks. Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect gone severely wrong is a good way to put it. And then when he does say something that you're like, yeah, this should, in a vacuum, what he is saying is technically true. That these rural hospitals are the backbone of so many communities around America. But then the thing that he is actually doing, the things that he is actually working on, the things that he is actually achieving in office, the most notable things RFK Jr. has done, we've covered some of them. It's putting his foot in his mouth over autism because he's a dipshit who thinks vaccines cause it. It is citing pseudoscience to deny trans healthcare, which will, I can almost guarantee, get worse in the future. It is shit like his performative push-up challenges with Pete Hegseth, which, by the way, let me see if I can find a... see if I can find some video of it. You still believe experts aren't self-interested? What did I ever say that? You still believe what do you mean self-interested? Do you still believe that people spend their entire lives becoming doctors only to make money? Like, yeah, that is why a lot of people do it. It's a very lucrative field. Do you think people make more money if they're bad at being doctors? Yeah, Carnell, that's actually a really good way to put it. These people see any consistency in warnings as lies, and it's fucking infuriating. Like, if you saw an alien, you wouldn't know how to safely approach it, so you'd take every precaution. Yeah. Why, YouTube? Why? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, everybody. That was painfully loud.
All right, here we are in the bowels of the Pentagon for the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I think this was your idea, so I blame you. But it's all about Make America Healthy Again. Shark attack. You can do better, Ranger Tom! Let's go!
I would smack the shit out of Pete Hegseth if he was that close to me.
Lieutenant Commander Gonzalez, you did the challenge in what time? 3:56. 3:56. 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, but we hope Americans will take this challenge and you'll pass it along so that we're ready to be fit the way we need to be healthy, and to have...
Oh, he's so eloquent. So that wasn't the video I saw. I think they cut around it to make him look better, because the only one pull-up I saw him do is like, yeah, it's a solid pull-up. Some of the other ones he did, not so many. Not so many. Yeah, also that what is this trap beat in this dog shit old man propaganda?
The challenge is to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in any order you want in under 10 minutes.
So 5 minutes is the top standard that we want to meet.
Not going to be able to do.
Why is it always cringe, performative, weird shit? Because they have nothing else. They have nothing else. Like, neither of these people are qualified for this job. Like, these fucking trap beat TikTok bullshit is all they can do.
Trump understands it. Preserve these rural hospitals, and they were closing an epidemic.
Something artificial. Let's go. Let's see what Dr. Mike has to say really quick. I don't know. I don't know Dr. Mike.
As a practicing doctor and someone who deeply cares about public health, I've been quite vocal about my criticism towards RFK Jr. I've said it on podcasts, on news programs, and frankly all over social media. I know many who support his message are frustrated with our healthcare system, with our lack of clear answers to some hard questions, with our poor communication and guidance throughout the pandemic. Know that I hear you and actually agree with you. We need to do better, and change can't come soon enough. We certainly need to be skeptical of our institutions, but healthy scientific skepticism means following data, not cherry picking it or making it up. Now, before we fact check some of the more extreme examples of misinformation,
that is actually,
I want to show you.
Okay, that's the most succinct way. I think you can really sum up the RFK Jr. plight is that there is a healthy amount of skepticism involved. But that skepticism needs to be based, and the conclusions we draw need to be based in actual data, which is something that RFK Jr. knows nothing about and has already shown time and time again he has no real interest in following if it would cause him to sacrifice the ideological bent that he is more intent on pushing.
Who RFK Jr. really is, what he stands for, and why, despite some of his ideas sounding good, he's incredibly dangerous to public health. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. He first became popular in the 1990s as an attorney suing factories that were dumping pollution into New York's Hudson River. Good stuff. However, in 2005, he began his public crusade against mercury and vaccines, and eventually joining the team at World Mercury Project in 2015, which abruptly changed its name to Children's Health Defense in 2018, where he served as chairman and sold shirts with this slogan. In 2023, he jumped into the presidential race as a Democrat, but when that didn't work out, he swapped to independent. And when that didn't work out, he dropped out and backed Republican Donald Trump in hopes of securing a cabinet position. I highlight this only to show that this issue isn't left, right, or center. It's simply...
Yenzo, doesn't RFK Jr. have... yeah, you know what? Actually, you bring up a really good point. RFK Jr.'s animal antics are bizarre, but his treatment of women, along with a litany of Kennedy men, is far more disturbing. This is from 2024. And of course, you'll remember, I didn't really talk about it because I didn't feel the need to preface the conversation, but if you're unaware, RFK has had a litany, a long line of bizarre controversies, like staging a dead baby bear in the middle of a park for a prank or whatever the fuck. And then there are a ton of, I'm glad you brought that up, Yenzo, because there's a lot of shit around his wife, his ex-wife, who killed herself. His staunch anti-vaccination stance has already been reported, but then came the bizarre stories of him chainsawing the head off a dead whale and driving it around attached to the roof of his car after he'd already admitted to dumping a dead bear cub in Central Park 10 years ago. I believe it was a dog of some kind, Dale Wilson. Maureen Callahan's new book, Ask Not, The Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed, is his behavior towards women, including the neglect and gaslighting of his second wife, Mary Richardson, who died by suicide in 2012. She writes that he, quote, remains unbothered and unquestioned about the circumstances leading to the death of this fragile woman who he tormented towards the end of their marriage and in the lead up to her suicide, cheating on her, cutting off her credit cards and access to cash, trying to forcibly hospitalize her, telling her she'd be, quote, better off dead. His prominence in the 2024 election makes Ask Not particularly timely and topical. While the book mostly focuses on people and events from the past, it highlights the persistent influence of the Kennedy legacy on American politics. Callahan identifies Pamela Kelly as one of those women. As a teenager, she was friends with RFK and his brothers David and Joe. She reluctantly agreed to travel with David and Joe to Nantucket. 7 teenagers piled into an open Jeep. According to Callahan, Joe tore through the streets of Nantucket, swerved, Jeep flipped at least twice. The carnage was unbelievable. 2 of the girls had broken necks. Pamela was thrown 30 meters into the air before landing on a tree trunk. She would never walk again. 6 days later, Joe Kennedy pled not guilty in court, standing before Judge George Anastos, an old classmate of his late uncle, Joseph Kennedy. Callahan recounts the scene. You had a great father and you have a great mother, Anastos said. Use your illustrious name as an asset instead of coming into court like this. He gave Joe a $100 fine and let him go. This is just a flavoring on the shit that the Kennedy clan has gotten away with. If you want an idea of why the idea of a political dynasty for literally anybody is a bad idea, look no further than America's premier political dynasty, the premier political legacy, the fucked up Kennedys. There was a similar lack of accountability when Joe's uncle, Ted Kennedy, faced court over the death of Mary Jo Kopech a few years earlier. Ted had been drinking, was speeding when the car plunged from a bridge into the water. He left Mary Jo to seek help but did not call the authorities. She conducted original interviews with mostly unnamed people who knew JFK's wife, Carolyn Bessette, who JFK Jr.'s wife, Carolyn Bessette, who died along with her sister in the plane he was flying. She also spoke to those who knew RFK Jr.'s second wife, Mary Richardson, Mary Jo Kopech, Pamela Kelly, and a young girl called Martha Moxley. Moxley was brutally murdered aged 15. RFK Jr.'s then cousin, Michael Skakel, was convicted and jailed for the crime. After serving 11 years, he was released and the conviction was vacated, pending a trial that never happened. RFK Jr. later published a book, Framed, Why Michael Skakel Spent Over a Decade in Prison for a Murder He Didn't Commit. Callahan also drew on a long history of reporting on the Kennedy dynasty as a writer for Vanity Fair and the New York Post. Author's note didn't specify whether she interviewed any of the Kennedy men. This seems like a really good summation of all this shit. Do I believe there's a Kennedy curse? No. I believe that there is a Kennedy dynasty of rich shitheads who are brought up to believe that they are somehow tied to greatness inherently, and like when you raise kids to be reckless and to be to have a inflated sense of self-importance, I think they're going to be fucking dumb. Yeah, there is a Kennedy pattern of behavior, I would say, more importantly. Jesus Christ. According to Callahan, JFK Jr. had a voracious sexual appetite. He constantly slept around, repeatedly infecting his wife with STDs, sharing lovers and prostitutes with his friends and brothers. Christ. Here we go. Other Kennedy men may not have been as extreme, but they tended to share a perception that women were objects of lust, something that they were owed. In diaries he left around the house for his wife Mary to read, RFK Jr. kept a list of all the women he had been with. There were so many, quote, astronomical numbers. He ranked them from 1 to 10 as if he were a teenager. This was an adult man, by the way. This is our Health and Human Services Secretary currently. The Kennedys remain a powerful and frequently destructive force, both in our politics and our culture. RFK Jr. was a compulsive womanizer, and yes, we should care. No reporter, this is from 2023, no reporter has yet asked the candidate or his campaign about the stories of rampant womanizing, behavior that some believe contributed to his troubled wife Mary's 2012 suicide. Quote, Mary was a fabulous mother and, like all of us, a flawed adult whose problems stemmed from her husband's conduct and her drinking, caused by specific stimuli with Bobby, who could anger, frustrate, belittle her into taking a drink as provocateur, her divorced lawyer told the Daily Beast in 2017. Kennedy's current wife, the beloved Larry David co-star Cheryl Hines, apparently without asking about the elephant in the room. The Times published a standard issue political wife article with no mention of the sordid side. Quote, and it seemed clear he will need Miss Hines, the Times wrote, who is in the unique position of being more recognizable to some voters than her candidate husband. While her husband raves about the U.S. pushing the Ukraine into war, Hines has always stayed on message. We share the same values, family first. The Post matters here. The Murdoch paper is the chief source on details of the womanizing, and journalists tend to steer away from its reporting unless verified elsewhere. Occasionally, though, it produces actual tough journalism, and it did so shortly after Mary Kennedy died, when a friend of hers gave the tabloid 2 diaries, dated 2001, kept by Bobby. The documents, which neither Kennedy nor his lawyers ever denied, total 400 pages, each with a ledger in the back, which he listed 37 women by first name only and ranked them with numbers 1 through 10. Like a kid in high school, Kennedy used the numbers to represent how far they had gone toward sexual intercourse. One entry logged 3 women in a day. A source who has seen the diary said, quote, what was interesting was that he portrays himself as a victim in all the encounters with women. He was ogling after women in the environmental movement. He blamed the women, calling the sex acts muggings. In one entry, he recorded he narrowly escaped being mugged by a team of 2 women. Quote, it was tempting, but I prayed and God gave me strength to say no. According to the Post, he wrote that he got mugged on my way home from Manhattan and included the name of a woman with a 10 next to it. The diary served as a kind of confessional for the Catholic scion, heir to the family sex addiction gene. Quote, my greatest defect, he wrote, was my lust demons. He had decided to, quote, avoid the company of women. You have not the strength to resist their charms. Do we... RFK Jr. So, Mary Richardson was a brunette beauty who bore him 4 children, then fell apart over his philandering, exacerbated by depression and drinking. They were still married, but living apart in 2012. He was already dating Cheryl Hines when Mary hanged herself in a barn on her property in Bedford. Despite a court order in the pending divorce case declaring the property hers, not his. Mary's family hired a private investigator, but they never saw her electronics again, nor a suicide note. Her family also objected to burying her at the Kennedy Cemetery in Hyannisport at the Kennedy compound. They wanted her buried in New York, but Bobby prevailed. A few weeks after the burial, he had her body disinterred and moved to a different corner of the cemetery. He said he wanted her body in a newer part of the graveyard, but like Trump's burial of Ivana on his golf course, the episode has sparked wild theories. Actor Billy Baldwin, a friend of Mary's, unleashed a Twitter rant at RFK. Quote, "If Bobby were half a man, she would still be alive today. It will all come out. His campaign will be over in weeks. If these walls could talk." So far, they haven't, or rather, they have, but no one seems to care. There are a few reasons why the media hasn't paid much attention. First is the scion spew of bizarre positions and wacky statements, so Trumpian it constitutes a form of Steve Bannon's flood the zone with shit strategy. Who cares about his private life when the man is comparing the vaccine cards to regulations in Nazi Germany, calling the COVID vaccine, quote, the deadliest vaccine ever made, blaming chemicals in water for gender dysphoria, loving on Putin, and promoting the popular theory that the CIA killed his uncle JFK. Yeah, literally predator in office. Wonderful. Give me 1 second, chat. I want to see if I'm going to go push a subject to the next stream. I'm sorry, what? B. Parker, Buck Angel did what? What kind of species do you want your fursona to be? I don't know, like a goat minotaur, probably. What? 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 Why are you poo-pooing me right now? Can't believe I've done this. Samantha, I know Sam did a video on the shit that she's been going through with Buck, but I didn't know that fucking freako did that shit. Ugh. Why is Why is Twitch giving me Kai Sanat? I think not. I think not. We're gonna go chat. I have something I want to do tonight. Normally I would stay and continue streaming. I actually kind of want to play some of Gears of War Reloaded, because Gears Reloaded and Metal Gear Delta dropped like a couple days apart, and so I've just been playing Metal Gear. Like when I play games, it's just been Metal Gear. Where the fuck? We are. Yeah, we're gonna go say hi to Actual Jake. Looks like Actual Jake is having also a chill day. Yeah, there's a Metal Gear. There was a Gears of War. So the weird thing with Gears of War Reloaded is that they already did a like full send remaster of. I don't want to go over the whole thing. It's just really weird because they already did Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and so it's kind of like a hat on a hat. Like they remade it, remastered it, updated all the textures and models and shit again. So, but I mean, it's good. It is still that first Gears of War game, and that is a good ass game. Yeah, we're gonna go raid Actual Jake. Go say hi. Go do all that stuff. And I will be back probably on Wednesday with another stream. I'm gonna try streaming a lot more this week. I'm starting to work on some other videos. If you haven't checked out yet the recent video on nostalgia, please go check that out on the channel. And I have other videos, including a deep dive into Jesse Waters. I'm working on a Destiny deep dive. There's so many things. And I hope you all follow me and check them out. And thank you all for joining me. Have a good rest